There is a specific feeling that hits you on a Tuesday evening when you are standing in your kitchen. You are exhausted. The workday officially ended an hour ago, but the emails are still pinging on your phone. You are looking into the refrigerator, seeing ingredients that require 40 minutes of preparation, and you make a calculation. It is not a financial calculation, at least not consciously. It is a survival calculation. You decide that your energy is currently worth more than the delivery fee and the tip and the marked up menu prices of ordering food. You tap a button, the money disappears, and 30 minutes later, dinner arrives. We tell ourselves this is a luxury. We tell ourselves we are buying a treat. But if you zoom out and look at the aggregate, financial behavior of the modern household, something else is happening. We are not buying luxuries. We are paying a tax on our own lack of time. There is a widely held belief that $1 million is the golden ticket. It is the number that has been etched into the cultural consciousness for decades as the finish line. If you can just scrape and save and invest until your portfolio hits 7 figures, you are free. But there is a silent erosion happening to that number, and it has nothing to do with the price of milk or eggs. It has to do with the infrastructure we have built to support our working lives. We have constructed a lifestyle where time-saving conveniences have mutated from occasional indulgences into recurring fixed overheads. They have become a second rent. To understand why $1 million might not be enough, we have to look at where the money is actually going. It is easy to point fingers at avocado toast or yachts, but the data tells a much more structural and frankly more forgiving story. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditures Report, from 2024, housing alone now accounts for $26,266 per year for the average unit. That is 33.4% of total spending. That is the first rent. We all know about that one. We accept it. But then there is the cost of leaving that house. Transportation costs have climbed to $13,318 per year. That is 17% of total spending. When you combine housing and getting away from your house to go to work, you have already spent over 50% of the average household budget. This is where the concept of the monthly minimum comes into play. Most people calculate their monthly minimum as their mortgage plus their utilities. But if you are a working professional, especially in a dual-income household, your minimum is much higher. Consider the shift in family dynamics. In 2024, the Bureau of Labor Statistics noted that 49.6% of married couple families are dual-income. Both partners are working. On paper, this looks like a massive victory for household wealth. 2 incomes should theoretically double the savings rate. When 2 adults work, the domestic labor that used to be free, cooking, cleaning, children, logistics, does not disappear. It gets outsourced. This brings us to the most critical and painful anchor in this entire equation: childcare. It is the ultimate example of a convenience that is actually a fixed overhead. You cannot go to work if your children are not safe. According to Child Care, Aware of America, the average price of childcare in 2024 was $13,128. That is the national average. But the raw number isn't the scary part. The trend line is. Since 2020, childcare costs are up 29%. And if we look at the data from the Bank of America Institute in October 2025, childcare inflation was running at 5.2% year-over-year. This creates a peculiar paradox. You work to make money. You pay someone else to watch your children so you can work. The cost of that care rises faster than your wages. So let's build a model of a realistic household to see how this plays out mathematically. We are not going to use minimum wage workers, and we are not going to use ultra-wealthy CEOs. Let's imagine a couple, Sarah and Mike. They are 35 years old. They live in a medium to high cost of living area. Sarah makes $100,000. Mike makes $80,000. Their combined household income is $180,000. By almost any historical standard, they are rich. First, taxes. Federal state FIDA. That removes about $4,500 right off the top. They are responsible. They contribute 10% to their 401ks to get the employer match. That is another $1,500 gone. They bought a modest home 3 years ago. With property taxes and insurance, their payment is $3,200. They have 2 cars. They aren't driving luxury vehicles, but they are reliable commuters. Between payments, insurance, and gas, that is $1,100. Now the childcare. They have 1 toddler in daycare and 1 in after-school care. This is the danger zone. This is where the second rent creates the illusion of poverty in a high-income house. On paper they have $2,500 for everything else, but Sarah and Mike are exhausted. They are part of the 39% of single adults and a likely higher percentage of working parents who suffer from time poverty, a concept tracked by the Levy Economics Institute. Because they are time poor, they cannot shop for deals. They spend $800 a month on groceries, but because they are rushed, they buy pre-chopped, pre-packaged, or quick-service options. They spend $400 a month on takeout and delivery because by Friday they are too tired to cook. They spend $200 on a cleaning service twice a month because neither of them wants to spend their only Saturday off scrubbing toilets. They spend $300 on frictionless entertainment, streaming services, subscriptions, quick family outings to keep the kids happy. Let's tally that up. $400. That is the actual monthly free cash flow of a household earning $180,000 a year. This is the shocking reality. The path to $1 million is not being blocked by a lack of income. It is being blocked by the monetization of time, and the system is designed to make this payment painless. We don't physically hand over cash anymore. The Atlanta Fed's Diary of Consumer Payment Choice showed that the amount of cash on a person dropped from $81 in 2023 to just $67 in 2024. We are moving toward a frictionless transaction world. When you tap your phone to pay for that delivery or for that Uber, you don't feel the pain of paying. Now, reasonable people can disagree on whether this is a bad thing. There is a strong economic argument that says specialization is good. If you earn $50 an hour and you can pay someone $20 an hour to clean your house, you are technically engaging in arbitrage. However, this logic only holds if you are using that bought back time to earn more money. If you pay for a cleaner so you can work 2 extra hours of overtime, the math works. But if you pay for a cleaner so you can collapse on the couch and watch Netflix, you are not investing, you are consuming. You are burning capital to subsidize leisure. It is also worth noting that this dynamic is not universal. This doesn't apply if you live in a low-cost rural area where a single income can still support a family, allowing one partner to manage the domestic overhead for free. It doesn't apply if you have a multi-generational home where grandparents provide free childcare. There is another layer to this second rent, and that is the lack of corporate support. We often view these costs as personal failings, but they are systemic gaps. In 2024, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that only 10% of private sector workers had access to commuting subsidies. We are expected to bear the full burden of the logistics required to be productive employees. So what happens when you reach the finish line? Let's say you defy the odds. You manage to save the $1 million. Here is the problem: you have built a life that costs $10,000 a month to run. Look back at Sarah and Mike's budget. If they retire with $1 million, their entire retirement income covers their housing and nothing else. No food, no health care, no travel. This is why $1 million is no longer the safety number for the convenience class. The number you need is not an arbitrary figure like 1 million. The number you need is a multiple of your annual burn rate. And if your burn rate is inflated by the second rent, by the recurring costs of convenience, your retirement number isn't 1 million. It's 3 million. This brings us to the counterargument. This is true, and it is a fair point. The expenses associated with working, the commuting, the dry cleaning, the daycare, do evaporate, but they are often replaced by new forms of convenience spending. We rarely become less accustomed to comfort as we age. If you have spent 30 years ordering dinner because you were too busy, you are unlikely to suddenly become a scratch-cook chef at age 65 just because you have the time. Habits are sticky. Furthermore, we have to account for the healthcare version of the second rent. As we age, we trade the cost of childcare for the cost of elder care or medical maintenance. The intent here is not to be pessimistic. It is to be realistic about the structural headwinds. The game has changed. The old model was keep your expenses low, save the difference. We have to stop viewing convenience as a series of isolated $5 decisions and start viewing it as a systemic operational cost. It might mean moving closer to work to eliminate the car cost even if the rent is higher because it deletes the transportation anchor. It might mean one partner stepping back from the workforce for 5 years because the post-tax, post-childcare income of that second job is actually negative. It might mean aggressively fighting the frictionlessness of modern spending. Go back to cash. There is a concept in engineering called failure demand. It is demand caused by a failure to do something right the first time. A lot of our convenience spending is failure demand. We order takeout because we failed to meal plan. We pay for rush shipping because we failed to anticipate a need. $1 million is still a lot of money. It is a life-changing amount of money. But it is not a cure for a high-overhead lifestyle. If your life is a machine that burns $5,000 a month just to function, $1 million is fuel for 16 years. The goal shouldn't just be to hit a number. The goal should be to build a life that doesn't cost a fortune to operate. Because the ultimate wealth isn't the number in the bank account. When you look at your credit card statement this month, ask yourself a single sharp question: how many of these charges were for things I actually wanted, and how many were just the price I paid for being too busy?